Welcome back to another episode of Built and Backed. Joining me today is Kelsey Mullaney, a founder, builder, and operator who spent the last decade working across martech, data, and go-to-market teams. She's currently the co-founder and CEO of Strata, an AI native integration platform focused on helping companies get customer data where it needs to go, reliably and without engineering bottlenecks. Kelsey, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here. I'd love to have you start off by sharing more with our listeners about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, definitely. So, a little background on me. As you mentioned in the bio there, I come from about a decade of martech experience. Working, for folks. I was actually in San Francisco, started my career there, and I worked kind of my way up between sales functions, eventually to go to market strategy, and then chief of staff type roles. And in that decade of experience, I started noticing a big pattern of challenges with companies in regards to the integrations, and more specifically being able to connect all their disparate tools into any vendor they're using. So my previous role, we constantly had customers or potential customers say, "Hey, I want to connect this system and then this CRM." And make sure that we can leverage it throughout our marketing communications. And it constantly was a battle of, do we use engineering resources for it? Do we kind of have to say no and hope it's okay? So there wasn't a really good framework we used. There wasn't a good system. And slowly we noticed this long tail of integration requests just building up. So with that experience, I kind of I looked around to see what other folks were doing to handle, that influx of customer integration requests, and no one seemed to be handling it in a really efficient way. And so I saw a huge opportunity to be able to help companies not only manage their customer integration requests, but make sure that they're being proactive and not reactive, and actually use it as a growth lever. And that unlocks amazing business KPIs like retention, which is huge right now, and things like onboarding speed, and other product stickiness, other really fantastic business metrics. So we went ahead and launched Strata. I pulled two folks from my previous job, who I'd been working with for 9+ years. And we essentially built the platform we wish we had. And yeah, here we are now. It's about a year later. I guess, yeah, 10 months post launch, but super exciting.
Yeah, and I love that you said that. I mean, I feel like it's what every founder goes through, but how you shared that you built what you needed. It's like when you were in your previous role, you needed all of these integrations. So looking into it and realizing that there wasn't something that already existed, I think was such a great push for you to just be like, maybe it's time to build something like this and help other teams that are in this same situation and having the same problems.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what is also super timely and helpful is with AI, we're seeing so many new tools pop up, and not only new tools, but more categories of tools. So what that's causing is just a massive influx in the integrations, again, the integrations that are needed, because companies and vendors specifically can't keep up with, oh, there's a new tool. We see it in CRMs right now, like Atio, Apollo, these smaller newcomers. Like, there's not current integrations built for maybe for those folks now, but yeah, there's all these new tools, and it's really hard. It's already hard enough to have engineers dedicate their time. And so I think, yeah, between that prior experience, in addition to what AI has done to this market, it's a really great time to capitalize and be that support system to help companies scale their programs.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that a question I have for you based on that is like, how does it work from the back end? Like, does Strata get integrated into all these different like platforms, and then therefore your customers automatically get those integrations from there?
Yeah, so essentially we are our tool, we're focused on martech. So we work with companies directly. They use our AI integration platform. Think about it like an integration agent. An integration AI agent, and it helps. We have a whole menu of pre-built integrations into the most common tools, but then our integration builder actually allows you to build any bespoke or custom integration. So our customers directly can go into the Strata platform, chat with the AI integration bot, and request integrations for, right now we're seeing some very, very interesting obscure systems, which is great. Like the more random, the better. But yeah, so it's twofold, a whole menu of pre-built integrations. And then the second being any of those bespoke or custom needs or quick turnaround requests, they can use the platform.
Oh, that's great. And it sounds like just from how you've described it, that a big benefit is just these companies being able to save time and resources. Like you said, then the engineering teams aren't the ones who are dedicated all of their time and energy and resources to trying to get these integrations. It's like when you loop in Strata, it's just set from there.
Exactly. And yeah, just to like pull that thread even more, think about, like what we've heard from customers before they've signed on is the process is they have to file a ticket to engineering. And then that ticket, it has a week turnaround time. And then from there, that's just getting more information, not even like that it's approved to do. So not only like the internal processes, but it's also having to actually approve it all together and then go back to the customer. And the number one focus is always making sure our customers can provide their customers with the best experience possible.
Mhm.
And again, bringing that customer joy, and that's so much of what moats are these days, is making sure your customers are happy. So it comes down to things like that. And because bandwidth is so limited already, and you're exactly right. Like, yeah, engineers don't want to be working on this. They want to be working on the fun things. Not saying integrations aren't fun, but I can even, they tend to come with headaches. So, yeah.
Totally. And to your point, I mean, helping retention that you mentioned earlier, like if your clients, like customers or users, aren't getting what they need, like they might be more apt to go to the competitor of what they're using. So being able to have the ability to bring everything all into one place, I think is huge for being able to retain customers and users on the platform.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's I wish I remembered this data point before coming on here, but the increase in customer retention from one additional integration is already incredibly impressive. But there's, these very clear value drivers that correlate to, the more integrations, just the stickier, which makes sense, right? And when you think about so many companies now are building AI features, they're building in marketing tech specifically, we're seeing this increase in, the email AI agent, and it helps them, make sure they're personalizing their emails. In order for all of those, like those AI agents to run effectively, they need as much data as possible. And that's also a huge benefit too, is it just allows everything to function really well. And yeah, the AI models can pull more, from a bigger pool of data. And yeah, it all adds up from there in terms of value.
Absolutely. One question I'm wondering is, do you ever see circumstances where maybe too many integrations where they can almost like conflict with one another, if that makes sense? Like I don't, or wondering if it gets to the point where there might be so many integrations that I wonder if they just don't work well.
Yeah, I would say it's less about the integrations not working well, because, you know, integrations, you'll ask any developer, and we went through a very a very large amount of user interviews. The interesting thing was developers were like, it's actually not that hard to build like with AI, it's actually hard to build. It's just really hard to maintain. So, and I say that to your question because I don't think it's necessarily the integration not working, but I think if you're not using a system that manages like ongoing maintenance, all these things, the maintenance can really be your Achilles heel because you have different cadences of when APIs break and things like that, and everything's on a different token refreshes. Like there's so many more complex things on the ongoing maintenance piece that I can see that getting really unruly unless you have a really organized system, like using a vendor or a really long. I've seen companies with fantastic integrations teams and really good frameworks internally where they could probably handle it, but to a certain point it does get pretty difficult.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And you mentioned earlier that you've been seeing a lot of obscure requests lately. And so I'm curious to hear what those might be. And even too, along with that, like any popular ones, if you see like over and over again, specific things that companies are looking for right now.
Yeah. So I'll say the most maybe it's not obscure because it's very a well-known well-known name, but we got a request for integration with AAA, which was like, again, it's so pop, but it's funny. You don't think AAA and like that industry as being modern, and
Yeah.
so I think it's really fun when I see sort of like old, more legacy category companies like seeking to evolve their integrations. And this company in particular, it was a towing company, which don't sleep on the towing companies because they have a lot of money. And yeah, they're requesting AAA integrations and then some just random, very industry towing specific CRM systems. So yeah, the most obscure are more the industry niche things that I'm like, wow, I'm so curious that market, like how if it's big enough. But that was I thought that was fun because it required us to sort of look in a scope out something a little bit more different. And then the most common ones by far are CRM systems. As I mentioned, our focus is really in martech, and it's because me and my two co-founders, my CTO, he was the founding engineer at our previous martech company. My head of product, he started in sales as like the fifth hire at our previous company, and then was a self-taught software engineer. And all of our specialty is in martech, and there is such a challenge in martech with integrations and getting all of those. But I'm now going on a whole other tangent. So going back to your initial, like what the most popular are, CRMs by far. It's been fun to see the newcomers, and then I'd also say, of course, like other messaging platforms, and then analytics platforms is always super top of mind. And then we're seeing a lot of loyalty right now too. So folks wanting to improve their loyalty programs are really bringing in like Punch, for example, very large restaurant, QSR focused loyalty company, but bringing that into their messaging so people can make sure, wow, someone visited a restaurant, I want to send them an SMS coupon to, here's a free breakfast. So I will say, like, it's cool to see people really wanting to bring in all of their tools into one place. But I would say those are probably the most common.
Yeah, and that makes sense too, especially like you said, having your background in MarTech, being able to focus on those ways to integrate with people's CRMs and different loyalty programs and marketing and sales initiatives that they have. I feel like anytime I've used an integration, that's always been where I've needed it for, is like the marketing and sales stuff. Otherwise, you just have to manually do everything, and that takes a lot of time.
Yeah, yeah. And there's like some interesting tools out there when you see the Zapiers of the world. But it's so hard for it not to take a lot of time. The way we went into this problem space too is we're like, there has to be a better way, There's so many systems that exist, but yet it's still such a massive headache. So still the time suck, for
Yeah.
a lot of folks is we're trying to help with that.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you brought up Zapier because I did have that in the back of my mind as like what differentiates Zapier from Strata or Strata from Zapier, I should say. And even like another tool I used to use forever ago, which I don't even know if it still exists, but if this, then that. I think it's like abbreviated as IFTTT, but like I'm curious to hear why Strata is the better choice in comparison to the tools like that.
Yeah, it's a great question. So I would say a couple different reasons. A big one being we are AI native. And people always say, oh, but they're building AI features. It is very difficult for companies not born, AI native to become AI native. And I say this too, Zapier is a fantastic tool. I'm a big fan of that team as well. So, no slight on them. But yeah, I would say the AI difference and really, I mean, we're just AI forward because that's how the year, when we were born as a company. And with that, it things are just easier. And so we're built, the second piece that has to do with that is we're built for martech. So what does that mean? That means we have pre-built templates already created for that industry, and we have other features within the tool that caters very well towards martech and the use cases that we see with our customers. And so that allows us to just be a little bit deeper. And between that and then our knowledge base, being able to be focused in a product allows for everything else to be that much more relevant and valuable to customers. And we're not trying to tackle the world of integrations. We're going to be, we're trying to do something really, really well in a specific, industry and have really happy customers and just and grow from there. And so that's how I'd answer that. AI, big one, and then just a lot of pre-built things that are made for martech specifically.
Yeah, I think the templates is huge because someone, I mean, I'd say like myself, when I was trying to figure out Zapier, I was like, I don't really know where to start. Like, we ended up having to hire a Zapier consultant to set it up. And it sounds like with Strata, it makes it easy with these templates for not necessarily anyone, but for most people to just be able to go right in and get what they need when they need it.
Yeah, that's the other big thing is we really, really are bullish on making it for non-technical users. Like we want to, going back to like not bothering engineering, we really want to make it so marketing teams can be empowered to be autonomous. They
Mhm.
can, oh, we need to bring in this data. I can do that. I mean, the time save, it's efficient. And yeah, so that's a really big piece of it as well as ensuring we bring in that crowd.
Totally. And as of the time of this recording, you launched 10 months ago. So I'd love to hear what that journey has looked like during that time, and especially as you get closer to your 1 year anniversary.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know what time it is ever of day. No, it's been wonderful. Yeah, my two co-founders are the absolute best. I feel so lucky. I know, that's the biggest piece. It's you spend so many hours working. It's just like our baby, spend so
Mhm.
many hours, you know, every day, odd hours, and to be able to do it with those two, yeah, I feel very lucky. But um, it doesn't come without difficulty. I think everyone always tells you it's really hard. Heads up, like yeah, it'll be very difficult. And no one can never prepare you for actually doing it, but the reward you get out of it, and specifically the conviction that you have to develop, the self-reliance that you have to develop, not having, you know, like I had amazing bosses in the past, and I was all everything on time. I needed, you know, everything perfect, and I loved hearing great job and all of that. And you don't have that anymore. So like having to be able to tell yourself, not to be cheesy, but having that really positive self-talk, like I just think it has brought out or forced a lot of really good habits,
Mhm.
um, expose things I didn't realize like needed improvement. But all things that yeah, it's brought me more than I thought in like my relationship with self. But to build and to close this loop here and to summarize, like my biggest thing I tell my friends and family, like creating something from scratch and then seeing a real business. I remember the first seeing a real business use it. I'm like, oh my goodness, like we're like growing up,
Yeah,
so that feeling never like has gone away, and that's incredible. And yeah, I just want to continue making, a difference with whether that be helping companies not want to bang their head against the wall when they get a certain request. Like I just want to continue on that and continue to help alleviate pain and yeah, and just make customers happy. So it's been a good journey. I can't believe it's 10 months, but yeah.
Yeah, and I love what you mentioned about like the whole point of self throughout your journey of like finding out who you are and being able to become more aware to certain things, which I think is so important. I mean, I never agreed when people would say, "Oh, business is not personal." I'm like, "It is personal because it's like it's you." So, I love
Yeah.
that you kind of pointed that out, just being able to realize certain things about yourself and strengths and weaknesses and almost going through what it sounds like a self-discovery phase in certain ways.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's going into this, I'm like, oh, like I know my like all of that stuff. You really don't know until you do it. Um, and I just think they're really, really valuable lessons to anyone to have. And I mean, I know more random legal jargon than I would like to admit because of hours of just spending. And you do that when you know, you're, yeah, you're in the grind and so it's a lot of fun too.
Totally. And I'm curious, have you and your co-founders been bootstrapping or have you gone after any funding?
Yeah, so we made a commitment to Bootstrap for a year, and our goal was, hey, can we get this thing off the ground, have success getting it off the ground, and see a world where we could just, yeah, build revenue that way and not take any capital, which has worked great. I will say one thing we underestimated was the value of time and how important
Yes.
that is, specifically around how raising capital, really helping us hit all of these roadmap goals that we have. At the end of the day, we have my two co-founders, the two engineers. So while we bootstrapped for the last 10 months, we are planning to most likely fundraise. What are we in the January? Most likely in the spring,
Mhm.
and very intentionally. Again, we have integration requests from customers we want to prioritize, and then we have some really fun AI features down the road that we want to be launching. And so yeah, it's bootstrap for now and seeing the value of capital.
Yeah, and I like that you're combining both in due time. And I imagine that throughout these past 10 months that you've been able to rack up some pretty amazing stats and success that will position you more nicely to potential investors compared to if you were to seek capital right away. You might have projections, but not necessarily that data. But now you'll have over a year's worth of success stories to show, which I think will be really awesome.
Yeah, my goal was always um, my goal was always to make sure we had as much control as possible. And we always, yeah, I mean, now like we're talking with enterprise customers, and I want to make sure I have that, before going into those conversations. But
Mhm.
to your point, a lot more data to share than just having a spreadsheet of, hey, or a slide of, hey, this is what we're thinking of building. Can we have your money? Which there's a place for that too, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Totally. And you mentioned your coworkers or co-founders a few times, so I'd love to go into that. I always love chatting with founders who have co-founders and hearing their perspectives. And so you've spoken so highly of them, and I'd love to hear how that has worked well having two co-founders and how that's really benefited your startup compared to what you think it looked like if it was just you as a solo founder.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's fantastic about myself and my two co-founders are we're so different, not only in skill set but also in working style. So skill set, we are, I'm go to market operator. That's my background, and then Ilya is the CTO, and like I mentioned, he was the founding engineer of our previous company, and then Julian, who is this like shapeshifter, he was a fantastic salesperson and was like, I don't want to. He was probably one of the top performing sales reps at our previous company. He's like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to, code and yeah, he did a stint on the product team before transitioning fully. And I think having those three angles really serves us well in this, in this integration world because we have the business And then we have yeah, being able to really get deep into the product. But Julian's kind of like the translator too. So it's great for a lot of reasons. Customer calls, it's fantastic, but also just in our team meetings when we're trying to understand things, it's, you know, I have the business translation, and then Julian, you know, can help translate that into the more technical. And yeah, Ilya is, you know, icing his arms as he codes, along with Jules who codes. But yeah, I would say the one downside is we're all in different places.
Mm-hmm.
We used to all be in San Francisco together, so that's the one challenge that we've tried to overcome by doing. We do quarterly on sites together, so a mix of, like, you know, we do, our last one was in Vermont, and we do a fun activity in between like working sessions, and we did a great team building exercise as well. So it's been nice. And again, I think our fusion is great. The fact that we've worked together already is also, I think, just the missing link. I know some of my friends who started companies are missing. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, and I love what you shared about like identifying challenges like being in different locations, but making sure that you have that priority of the quarterly offsites to get together and really tackle the things that might require more of that in-person time together versus the things that can be done in different locations and remotely.
Yeah, definitely. And I will say, I highly recommend any team do the Strengths Finder, because it allowed us to understand each of our working styles. We all know, you know, we work together for so long, but still you don't know like what drives someone. And so in a remote environment, I highly recommend doing that as an activity with your team. It's brought us certainly a lot closer, allowed us to communicate a lot better.
I think that's a really good idea because then it can probably what it sounds like prevent future problems or conflicts from happening if you know right off the bat how well you all work together and what your strengths and working styles and things like that are.
Yeah, exactly. And I often recall back, I'm like, oh, you know, Julian's, you know, they have those terms, and it allows me to make sure I'm communicating as effectively as possible,
Mhm.
in the way he will, you know, connect with. So yeah.
That's awesome. In addition to the funding that you're looking to go after this spring, is there anything else coming up for Strata that you can talk about? Whether I know you kind of hinted to new features, if there's anything you can share publicly, I'm excited to hear it.
Yeah, our builder is coming out. Our beta is being worked on right now. And it hopefully first 2 weeks of Feb, you should see a product release from us that I'm very, very excited about. So yeah, I don't want to give away too much now, but uh, yeah, it should be soon, and it should be really juicy and fantastic. So
Love it. And a timely question I have for you. You've probably seen online throughout the past few weeks, all of this conversations happening, a lot on X and a lot on LinkedIn about Massachusetts being a tech hub and people thinking like Boston has lost its place ultimately. So I would love to hear someone who is based in Boston, like what makes it such a great city to be in for tech.
yeah, I mean, and I feel like I can say this because I lived in San Francisco for 4 years. Obviously, I'm from Boston, so I will flag that slight bias. But the great thing about Boston is, like, I have so many founder friends just in the last year who have reached out to me to connect, who I've met at events. And I mean, it far surpasses, I don't want to say this because I'll get hate, not like many, you know, but like San Francisco is, yeah, just really saturated in a way that I don't know if people are fatigued to meet up. But in Boston, any, like, I'm getting coffee actually after this with the CEO of Goldcast.io. His company just got acquired. Um, Palesh, he's a fantastic guy, and I just, you know, shot him a note last night. He's like, great, let's get coffee tomorrow. And you know, this is a CEO of, you know, he's a Harvard Business School guy, four-year company, and he just like, yeah, let's find a spot. And that's sort of the feeling I get in the community is like, oh yeah, anyone you want to grab, you know, grab a drink or talk shop. There's just been so many amazing people who have, like, helped me even with texting invite. Like, I texted them, hey, who did you use for a legal person on this? And It's a community that I'm very proud of, because I think it's not a showy one. It's a very grounded community, and yeah, I think anyone who's sleeping on Massachusetts being, losing its spot in startup, um, they're just jealous.
You phrase that perfectly. But yeah, you're right. I mean, especially since it's such well, a smaller city, I will say, and so close knit, it's nice to have those connections compared to the bigger tech cities where they're big and it feels like
Yeah.
you're a small fish in a big pond there compared to Boston, you might be a big fish in a small pond.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I do feel like it's going back to like building community. Like people are way more willing to expand their network. And maybe that's because Boston is smaller, and people are seeking that out. But it's just such a welcoming community and environment. And people aren't looking to gain anything either, which is a big
Mhm.
thing that I'm a natural skeptic with things. I always think someone's trying, looking for something, and here it's just purely for, hey, be in my community and be in my network, and next time I'll need something, I'll reach out and get your help. But um, yeah, I would take Boston for sure.
Love it. And now a fun question for you. You just gave a good shout out to the CEO of Goldcast, but I always love to ask our list or our guests, I should say, to give a shout out to someone in tech who's doing something cool right now that they're really admiring. So it could be another founder, could be a VC, builder, operator, really anyone's fair game.
Yeah, I would say the VP of product at Cordial, Amy. I was just messaging her. She has released some really cool uh, agents for Cordial. So think, yeah, personalization agents and other data agents. And she has absolutely crushed the the PR for those, the timing of them. I really think it's incredible when you have, not to go on a long tangent, but Cordial is like somewhat smaller than the other marketing automation players. And I think it's amazing and, yeah, incredible when a smaller player takes a stance or like makes a move that you haven't seen. And yes, Braze has AI agents, but no one else has really made a stance on it. And I just think to fiercely have conviction over that and launch it, I just think is awesome. And they're going to be crushing it. So, but Amy, the VP of product there, is really sharp, and yeah,
Awesome. A good person to have in your corner for sure.
yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Kelsey, this has been such a fun episode, and I've so enjoyed having you on the show to talk about everything that you're doing with Strata. And I'd love to have you share with our listeners where they can find you online in case they'd like to connect.
Yeah, definitely. And this was a blast. Thank you so much, Ashley. Yeah, they can find me on LinkedIn. And I love talking to other Boston folks too. So if anyone wants to reach out and chat, and yeah, connectstrata.com, as well, if you want to check out our website, or you can get added to the newsletter and then our business page on LinkedIn as well, just Strata.
Amazing. And I'll include all those places in the show notes so our listeners can easily find you from there. Thank you so much again for coming on today's episode of Built and Backed.
Yeah, thanks, Ashley.